Okay, so we're recording. I'm just going to make you folks full screen. So, welcome to the community call on the 15th of April 2025. Wow, what a full house of auspicious guests we have here. So, let's dig straight into the agenda. So, we have one announcement, which is the Pi Week results. I'm thrilled to say that I was very close to the bottom, which is quite appropriate for submarine game. Um, although Lukash was quite near the top as well. I think you were what, fifth place, something like that.
No, I was seventh place in individual, which out of 21 entries in individual puts me like right at the end of the first third.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty happy for like 2 days of work. So
Yeah. It was a very good game. It was a very good game. Um, and there were also two other entries. So I think that having four entries based on PyScript is good. I got in some of the background chatter, people saying, wow, I never knew PyScript could do that, because of course my game, because I'm an idiot, was all H1s and H2s and H3s kind of CSS animation and all of that sort of stuff. But the winner of the individual game, Mitmic, with a really scuffy, is it called Scuffy the Tugboat or something like that? It was a fantastic,
yeah,
it really, I loved playing that game when I was judging.
extremely polished for
Yes,
just a week of work.
yeah,
Like yeah,
yeah,
surprisingly polished.
yeah. So Mitmit, who wrote that, sort of pinged me and said, I didn't realize PyScript was a thing. I'm going to look into this. So wouldn't it be great if he did a game, or
Oh
he or she did a game next? So there we are.
yeah,
We're slowly taking over the world, aren't we?
awesome. Yes, waiting for it.
Okay, so that's the announcements. So Pi Week results. I think we can all celebrate everybody's entry there. So the next thing we'd have is upcoming work and priorities for those of us who are involved in PyScript. So we have Nicholas, Andrea, Dan, if you'd like to, Fabio, if you'd like to, and maybe even Martin, if you'd like to, just say what you've been up to in the case of PyScript land. And for me, it's very simple. I was in Denver last week on a company all handsy type thing for engineers, so I was absolutely exhausted by that. But it was good to see everybody. I've been continuing to work on block-related programming and PyScript with Josh. And I'm also making progress with Docupalooza, which is an update to the docs as well, among other things. Next, we have Andrea, who is up there on my screen.
Yeah, so it's been a quite productive week. Couple of issues or low-hanging fruits fixed to improve the X in PyScript, and I finalized and rewrote coincident for the fifth time probably, but basically I measure what a native round trip with just JSON, how long it takes, and how long it takes with the latest rewrite of coincident. Basically it's the same. So unfortunately the good news is that I finished. I'm done with that investigation. I think I've reached a moment where everything is a doc. But I will talk more about the agenda items in the agenda items about this, because once I finished that, I started playing around with my awful Python skills to follow up on poll requirements around this templating thing for SSR. And I would like to share my screen so you can all see where we are, and a quick background or on where we started.
This is PEP 750, isn't it, that you were working on?
750.
Yeah.
Yes. All right.
Okay.
So, well, the requirements were a couple of use cases and a mix of what's available already or what I've done previously on the web with my own libraries. And at the beginning, me and Paul discussed about having a way to do SSR, and I have a UHTML SSR library that was using strings, converting strings creating strings, and it was all string based. And we
Andrea,
had a
could
u
you
yes.
for those watching at home who don't know what SSR is, could you just give us a quick overview of what that might be?
Sorry, server side rendering. It means we in the JavaScript world that you use template literals features to actually automatically sanitize and create out of the blue or out of the box actually the entire views where you can like chunk of page. But in this case, I'm
Your audio has gone, Andrea,
Yeah,
I
we
think.
did briefly there.
Okay, I still can't hear Andrea.
Nor
Andrea,
me.
Andrea, Andrea. Hello. I don't think Andrea can hear me. Could someone say something to Andrea?
Andrea, please. Hello.
yes. What's going on?
We couldn't
Oh.
hear you for the last 2 minutes, matey, and I don't think you could hear us. So this is going to be Comedy Central for the people watching back on replay. But could you start from after you just finished the server side rendering?
So
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that.
it's a way. No, I am sorry. I don't know what's going on. I just updated Windows. I'm blaming Windows. And can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go for it.
Okay. So basically, server-side rendering means you create a sanitize a proper layout out of a template literal, and it's like a formatted string, but with the step 750 we have a T, and so all these random things are fine. This will be likely serialized the same with an F format string. But here we have a listener, for instance. This is and this is this was a funny part. And here we have data. Here is like dictionaries, and we can pass any sort of data, including components. So here we have a whole component, and by component here we mean something that we receive all the props and the children and can return some part of the template or another template, or arbitrary can return something else. And this is the beauty of templating and the T, which unfortunately doesn't highlight as well as the F, and it is not recognized because my IDE doesn't know anything about PEP 750. But the code works, and this is a specialized to test. I've used a specialized version of PyDide and also a proper build of Python that actually supports the T string. And so at the very beginning, it was about strings, parsing, string changing, and creating this string, final string at the end. Then Paul was like, I don't want strings. I don't like strings. I want to have a structured data. And so we rewrote everything. Actually, I rewrote everything. And now it's just producing some JSON. And we will see a live demo right now of what's going on and what this does. And in here, again, I'm using attributes with a Boolean value. These are either there or not. I'm testing that stuff like quotes and ampersands are sanitized and escaped. I'm testing that regular random values pass through, even in a text area as a placeholder. I'm testing that listeners can be used somehow, and I explain how I'm using listeners. And I'm expecting this SVG self-closing tags are preserved in the layout, and I'm expecting that components just work out of the box. And here I have an array with a list of names. The names here is just John, Jane, Jim, Jill. This was suggested by AI, and I'm creating a runtime list of out of this array, this list, a list of LIs elements inside the UL container. And so enough of checking the string. This is just a string, nothing interesting in here. Let's see how it works in practice. So there we go. This is PyDide bootstrapping and creating what you've seen here is in here actually became this. Well, it's mostly the same, except you don't see the hidden attribute. And if I set true, it will be there. So eventually you won't see the hello SSR. It's there. First thing. Then I prefer with a header. Um, what's next? Yes, you can see that stuff is sanitized properly, is escaped properly. The random values are there, text area placeholder and everything else. The data attribute is special because it helps creating the data set in DOM nodes. So you pass a data thing and it spreads as a data A, data B. So these are valid data attributes for the DOM. And area, it's also very important for accessibility. You pass an area detail like the role is a button, label is click me, and automatically becomes attribute on the DOM like as a role button, area label, click me. Actually, this is not a good area presentation because if you need a button, just use a button. But at the same time, it's good for testing that things is working as expected. Check this out. This is an on click that is doing some self Python listener. If it's there, self is going to be the global thing with an index for the current event that I set up. What was the event in here? It was the onClick, and the onClick is this onClick event where I'm importing JS and alerting event type. Will it work? Of course it does. And so I'm creating from Python, and now here I'm using Pyodide, but this works in real Python, C Python on the server too. And I'm creating something that can also touch listeners, which probably people will freak out about this. But I think it was a cool experiment or cool idea to showcase. Um, Okay, this is a bug that I just noticed. This shouldn't be there. It should be just a regular HR because it doesn't have self closing tag HR. And here we have SVG and self closing tag is preserved. And here, what was the component? If you see here, it was component with a prop A, prop B, which was one is static, one is dynamic, and some hello components. The component is returning a div with those props, props A, props B, and a list of sub-children. In this case, I had only hello components, but I can more children. And so I'm expecting that if I refresh, I will see hello components 3 times. And indeed, it's here 3 times. And you see there's no component anymore. It's just literally what got rendered as a component is there with all its children in place. And last but not least, the list of items of names John, Jane, Jim, Jill, they are all there inside their all UL. And all the comments that I can put around don't bother actually the engine. I can have it this, remove this. This is here just to showcase what's going on. And what's interesting here, how am I bringing listeners from Python, real Python thing to the web? Well, I've learned that there is a deal. Deal is a lovely package dependency that is able to pickle things, and I'm creating a unique list of listeners. It's never duplicated, so it's a unique list. By this, with these listeners, I'm actually at runtime. I'm creating this list through deal loads, and to do not have issues with encoding and decoding. I'm just using base64 decode. The code is what Deal created behind the scene. And so basically I have this scope available if I want to. Actually, I don't know, but I would like to test that right now. I can do JS console log. Let's see if I do this, if it breaks everything, or it brings the data dictionary in here too. And maybe I don't want to log it, but let's see what happens. Again, this is entirely click proxy symbol proxy at yes, so it's there. If instead of log I do print or print dumps data, it should show me the data value after the click, of course, A and B. So yeah, Deal is wonderful because There's nothing like this for JavaScript, as far as I know, and then now I want it into the JavaScript world too. But anyway, this is cool. So it automatically does a lot of things that probably MicroPython will never happen. At the same time, again, we are experimenting and trying to figure out what we want, how we want it, and if we can do things. Last but not,
sorry, go for
yeah,
it. Keep going. Keep going.
I'm almost done. Then I will
yeah.
answer
Yeah,
questions.
yeah, that's what I was just wondering. Yeah, go for it. Sorry.
The library is pretty simple. So what gets converted into DOM with the quotes around is just basically a dictionary that acts like a dictionary. It is a dictionary, so you can just JSON dump everything. And indeed, in here at the very top, I'm console logging JSON parse dumps value and the value without needing any extra thing. And this is actually the structure I have. This structure is representing exactly the current snapshot of the current live DOM you're seeing, except listeners, of course, because JSON doesn't support functions. But that's an implementation detail behind the scene. At the same time, today I produced this structure, which is way easier to reason about. So you have type and data if it's a comment or a text node. Otherwise, you have you just type one is an element with a name and eventually props. This is all the props I have, and eventually children too, if there is some child node, like in here is a UL, is an element with all the children, which is the the parser is not trying to clean up the whatever string you have. It represents exactly nodes as the DOM would represent the nodes. But in this case, I have these four LIs that are my four elements with the names, which is in children as a text node: John, Jill, Jim, Jane, Jim, and Jill. And what's cool that I just 5 minutes before this, I tried, actually it was more than 5 minutes. But what's important is that I kept in mind the MicroPython story all the time. There are a few things that I wanted to do. One is to find a way to parse, because HTML parser is not there in the package HTML. It's just escape is there, but parser not. And also, of course, the T is not long time ago in yeah, I filed in PyScript and introduced T as in PEP 750 to play around with, and this was absolutely a hack based on strings replacing, and it's ugly. He's using eval and everything else. But also, for some reason, when I refresh enough times, I should see something work. Yes, for some reason it works anyway. Not always, but this is not, MicroPython doesn't have anything about 750, PEP 750. And this is the first time I've managed to actually bring in what I wanted. So just to show that my code is already working in MicroPython. If PEP 750 was there, it will be every refresh should just show me that it works there too. And this is important, not just because MicroPython, eventually microcontrollers also has a way to server page, but because the structure can be used on the front end to whatever logic we are using. The structure can be the same to represent DOM nodes, do add reactivity by either signals or by any other mean, and add eventually on the front end real listeners and everything else. Well, real listeners in that case is still a real listener. So this is the current state. What you're seeing is the very latest that happened like half an hour ago. I'm just testing, and I'm happy that what I wanted to show has been shown, except there is this bug that I've just introduced. Probably in this branch. It shouldn't be there officially. Okay.
So I have a question. Well, it's a kind of like I'm playing the idiot question, which is you started by pointing out that there are F strings and T strings. For those watching at home who might not realize what the difference is, could you give us a very quick overview of why we have T strings and not F strings? Or maybe Paul, you might be able to jump in and explain.
You want me to take it, not Andrea?
Can you hear and see me?
We can now. Yes, I think you're breaking. Yeah, you're sort of coming and going.
Super annoying. So what's T-string? T-string is a way to. So when you use f-string, every let's call it interpolation, but basically everything you put in curly braces is resolved, and you just get a string out of it. There's nothing else you can do with the string. It's just it's basically a printf statement and nothing else. It's a cool printf statement, so it's easier and easy to read and easy to write, and it does the trick. But it doesn't go beyond that. The template, the T formatting, it doesn't convert anything into a string out of the box. It actually becomes something that the function that is receiving that template, that is string, can understand which part of the strings of the string are statics, which part of the string are interpolation, and for each interpolation decide what to do. There is a value, there is the code around surrounding the interpolation, there is all the details you want to do this kind of magic. So right now I'm starting from a string and I'm creating a JSON serializable structure that represents the DOM on the page, and I can pass any kind of value without needing that value to be converted directly as a string. I might expect some value, like in data and area attributes case, I'm expecting a dictionary, and I'm parsing those to create something that becomes useful for the current goal is to produce valid HTML with all the details that I can have around. I can have components as functions and just invoke those functions with whatever current data I have, and have every time a different result accordingly per each user that is visiting the page. So there's a lot of things that are possible with templating, and things that have been used heavily on the web and JavaScript side since 2015, when the template literal tags were brought to the platform. Tags meaning that you use the function and then backticks without invoking. It's just function backticks, and you can parse interpolation, understand interpolation. Is basically very similar as a concept. In here is explicit as a T thing that has to be passed to a function, and then the function receive this template, which is some sort of wrapper of all these details that you can use, transform, and return whatever you want. You don't have to return a string. You can return something else. When we think about T used in SQLite or any other SQL thing, you can query sanitizing automatically all the strings so that you won't have SQL injection anymore. And these kind of things that were not strictly possible with f-string, because the f-string will convert as a string whatever it is. So it's very SQL injection prone, you know, it doesn't sanitize. So it's not a good way to write SQL. But with this string, you can automatically say, okay, these are all the points that I want to put a question mark, and then parse properly all the values whenever the query returns something. Or in our case, we can have a list of children to parse, replace, reverse, change, and all these kind of things. And you can have a way better developer experience while creating pages the same way that the rest of the web, at least in the JavaScript world, is doing these days. So it's a sort of DSL or JSX without the need for a parser or anything else.
One thing that Andre and I have been talking about the last couple of days is, because we're not turning into a string, we can imagine an ecosystem of middleware. And in Vite and Webpack and all these, they have that. And I've written plugins for them. But they always give you a string, and so each part of the process has to reparse something. With this, we're passing a data structure, and you can register middleware to resolve relative URLs into absolute URLs when publishing to a static site or something like that. And this whole thing being designed around tooling, for me, there's two really big breakthroughs on this. The first is that this was MicroPython first. There isn't a templating language in Python that was MicroPython first. And that's a really interesting point. And it's written by someone who has 5 centuries of front-end development experience and is thinking about reactivity and hydration and all these kinds of things we don't know about. But the other thing is that this is tooling first. None of the current templating languages were written in the presence of type hints, for example. And so, or linters. I mean, black. How good can black do on a Jinja template? It's kind of tough. But these things are basically F strings. And all the tooling in Python can go and do things inside of this stuff. And so that's interesting. I got to get off the call in just a second. Is it okay if I talk a little bit about PyCon?
Yeah, go for it.
We would like to do a big unveiling at PyCon. The ways to do this: first, we want to get back-to-back lightning talks. Dave Peck does one to talk about the PEP itself. I do one to talk about tooling, and then someone does a PyScript one. Obviously, the PyScript one is going to win the Best Pig at the Fair award. We all know that. It's the sexy one. I submitted a FlaskCon talk, and David said it will likely be accepted. And I brushed off a 8-year-old repo I had about getting components into the Jinja AST. So we might show that. And maybe we'll do an open space. So if the PyScript folks could get someone on stage and do a killer lightning talk, and we can go cook the books and get 3 in a row, that would be great. For my tooling one, the PyCharm people are going to give me a build that supports T. We have a fork of black, which I use every day, that supports T. 2-line change. That's all it took. Something like that. And I've got a surprise. The JetBrains AI people are going to give me a local LLM that is trained on examples that we write. So I might be able to do things like Jim Baker's working on converting Jinja to T-strings. So hopefully we can get together a pretty cool set of demos on this. I'm working with Andrea now on writing tests. I had a whole big pile of tests on my previous system. I'm copying them over. And now development will mean that you can just sit in CPython on a build on the branch, and Andrea doesn't have to always go hit reload in a browser and look at console log to see if his changes broke anything. As fun as that is. So those are some of the things that we're working on. We have a bunch of things in motion simultaneously, trying to arrive at PyCon and get a good message across. I'm optimistic about it. This thing that Andre is doing is, can I curse on this channel?
You are being recorded. Yeah. You're being recorded, but now you've given us a trigger warning. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Personal preference and personal responsibility.
Got it. All right. So I wanted to chime in on this. A lot of stuff is happening really fast because Andre is superhuman. We're trying to keep up with him. But multiple people are involved. Jim Baker, Dave Peck, Kudai is doing the PyAdai builds and the Docker builds, and Lissandros is getting the last bits for the Python 3.14 release manager, whoever that might be.
That's Hugo.
And hopefully this will all make us and we hope to show up at EuroPython. So that is a number of things related to all of this. Thank you for letting me speak in your call.
Paul, look, okay. So what I'm hearing is keep calm and carry on with what you're doing. We as in PyScript need to organize someone who will do a lightning talk. Now the two people who are PyScripty are actually on this call now, so that's myself and Fabio. I don't mind. Fabio, you're the creator of PyScript, so if you want to get the
Maybe-
kudos and the glory, you go for it, matey. But if you don't, if you'd rather not, I'm happy to do it as well. So I'm leaving it up to you, basically.
Well, yeah, let's talk. Maybe we can do a duo and a fun whatever.
What could possibly go wrong?
Actually, well, your talk with Paul was amazing because of exactly that. So maybe we'll do
Right.
something.
Okay,
like
we've
this.
got 5 minutes. We would need to rehearse, is the thing.
Yes, and I will 3D print an Andrea statue with the face on it, so that credit goes to where it deserves.
Take a cuddly Yoda or something like that on stage with us.
Yes.
Okay.
But yeah,
okay.
Paul, really, thank you also for
Yeah.
pushing this. I remember us talking about this basically 30 minutes after the Peter's keynote, and it's finally materializing. It's so nice to see 3 years after. So
Yep.
amazing.
3 years
work.
ago, I was on the beach in France, summer vacation, reading everything Andrea had ever written, and he's written a lot. And sometimes you got to reread it. And
More than
here we
one.
are now, about to
Yeah.
do something cool for Python.
What took you so long? Go.
And Lucas, I might follow up with you about Black and whether it can go inside a string and think about HTML, because we're competing against Prettier that can do that.
Yeah, like so far we haven't really targeted any other language, and I don't think we should.
I agree.
Plus, with the templating situation, the rules of formatting should probably be different, because you don't want everything so exploded as Black likes it. At the same time, like context-specific styles would be kind of hard to explain in docs and everywhere. So, like, I'm all for collaborating on this, but it just sounds to me like this should be a separate tool that like has its own rules, because a lot of the sort of rules that Black adopted and are now sort of depended upon were created before T-strings and before this was a concern. So now we'd have to make a large kind of backwards incompatible move there, or just have some, well, dirty word, configuration, and like that sort of goes against the idea of the
I should have been
tool.
clear. I meant for a disposable prototype.
So a disposable prototype, like just hit me up with whatever doesn't work for you, and I can help getting that work for PyCon.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to PyCon. Well, I'm always looking forward to PyCon, but really looking forward to PyCon. It's going to be really good fun. Really good fun.
All right.
Okay, take care. Ciao, ciao, Paul. Okay, so according to the agenda, we're looking at the summary of work and priorities. Dan has left the call. I don't know, Fabio or Martin, whether you want to say anything.
Yeah, actually, my super quick update kind of relates to this. Due to many things happening at Anaconda, my role hasn't changed, but I'm in different places now, and should be way closer to the PyScript project, community, roadmap, and everything else. So excited to restart being closer there. And I've been working with, y'all and Dan on discussing areas where we can develop. So, and I've been working with Dan. So I hope to see a lot of more things coming really, really quick and soon.
Cool. Great stuff.
Pardon.
So we've been working on PyScript.com. Obviously, we were away at the same meeting you were last week, but before that, we've been concentrating on improving the PyScript assistant and the use of so you can build and you make the assistant actually useful in PyScript.com, because before it wasn't really very useful. You could ask it who made PyScript, and it might give you the right answer. one out of 5 times. But now you can get it to create PyScript applications for you, and it's even smart enough. Like the other day, I built a PyScript application, linked it to Firebase, and just said, can you store the to-dos in Firebase? And so away it goes, and it knows all the plugin, it knows how to do it all, and and obviously right now it's as always LLMs, right? It's hit and miss, but we're getting close to have given it enough context that it does a pretty good job. So that's a big push, right? And it's for a couple of reasons. A, it's fun for people to play with, and B, it gets you over that kind of for people, that kind of blank page problem. Like, where do I start? If you wanted to build a to-do app, or you wanted to build something using the canvas or whatever, you can actually just ask it, and it will write it, put it in your project, and even run it for you, so you don't even have to do anything. So that's been one big push, is the AI stuff. And we've also got an MCP for Claude, so if you're using Claude, you can actually you'll be able to upload things from you can prompt Claude itself, or any other place like that. Any other MCP client that you've got, you can use our server to manipulate and update your PyScript projects. So that's it. And then at the moment, we're doing a bunch of kind of thinking about particularly about the back-end services that we can offer, and a way to offer those better, like the back-end as a service, kind of like Firebase is for Google. But we want an ease of use. We've already got like project stores, like key value stores, and pub sub channels, but they're not obvious how to use them, and we haven't really publicized them because we need to work out how it fits in as this idea of back end, like a Firestore, a Firebase project. I think we need something separate, because PyScript projects are interesting because they're often generally lightweight. Like, so I've got hundreds of PyScript projects, right? I might whip up a little thing, and so you generally don't want to create like a Firebase, you wouldn't want to create a Firebase project every time you fired up a Hello World app in Python, right? And you might have a similar backend, like a database, that you want 20 of your apps to share, right? You just, I want all of this is to do with something, with I don't know, particular game or something. So I want to, this is my database, this is my pub sub, these are my channels, these are my. So that's but literally we've just started those thoughts as we were at our meeting last week, just writing down ideas. Okay, how can we do this? I don't think, to be honest, I don't think it's it's one of those things. It's not a massive amount of code, so I don't think it's going to take a long time. It's just getting our ducks in a row, really. So that's where we are really with PyScript.com side of things.
Great stuff. Thank you. Okay. So we've had our updates. We have one agenda item, which is Andrea, coincident rewrite. We're as fast as we can go. Time to officially use its latest, and should we do a release? So Andrea, do you want to just give us a heads up on what you've managed to do with coincident, which is of course the thing that helps us serialize and deserialize across workers and things like that?
Yeah. I'm gonna share my screen one more time. So basically all the things end up that JSON is the fastest thing that we have on the web. The only thing that it doesn't do is to understand recursion and symbols and all the data type that clone understands. But basically a hybrid approach. So all the things I've talked so far ended up doing this. We serialize as a string, because not as a string, we serialize as a JavaScript thing. Then we create the JSON, the smallest JSON possible. And we convert just as uint16 array, which is not the best in terms of space, memory consumption, because it's any string in JavaScript is UTF-16. So we have to do length by multiplied 2 times, length twice. But it's the fastest way to convert anything into a buffer and move the buffer around. So with all the benchmark I have and done, this at the end works. If this encode is JSON stringify, it works with JSON. If it's something else, it works with something else. So at the end, we're still doing a single round trip, but the conversion, instead of going fully buffered, where things are quite complex and the file is huge and everything else. So by default, I just use JSON, but then I created, which is a merge of previous projects, the buffered logic with a flatted, which is the most downloaded module I've ever put on npm, and this creates a super small JSON, specialized JSON, which is just a flat array with all the details that we need and we use so far, which is image data, symbols, begins if it's needed, and all the special things that we need and we have been using so far. Is faster than what we had so far, and everything is better. And I've dropped the dependencies. So this merge request, I'm not asking anyone to have a look, also because it needs some extra cleanup. This merge request is 55 files changed, the structure is changed. Zabayon is not there anymore because it's not needed, late realization, but I wanted to have everything driven by shared array buffer, but that's not needed for everything that is not reaching the document, the window, and the main thread direct things. So when we don't need that capability, we don't need that extra library, so Zabayon is gone. All dependencies are gone, or the thing that we're abstracting slightly, like Kborex or all other buffering things, are gone. Everything is gone. And currently, this is published on npm. PyScript is already updated. I've tested as many things as I could. Sorry about that. And basically, my question is, there have been enough time for people hopefully to test this stuff, and all tests are green, and the CI takes 4 to 5 seconds less with a worker in Pyodite. But I'm afraid there's nothing we can do to go faster, because the round trip is going to take the round trip time, which is post message atomics. Even atomics, when you wait, it adds delays. Whatever we do, it adds delays. And all the code I've tried, even the baseline, the most basic baseline to benchmark this stuff. So I just writing manually the most basic steps that we need to do to have an atomics wait, a post message, a wait, a deserialization of the buffer with the fastest way to do it. Even with this, the results are the same. Over hundreds round trips with current coincident is 5.5 milliseconds 100 round trips. The baseline, which is manually written code, is 4.2. But I can refresh this many times, and sometimes our logic is even faster, which is kind of a nonsense. That's all because the benchmark, the precision is never great on the web. But this is to say, I think we have the best of all worlds. We are dropping dependencies and libraries. Currently, what we have is way more robust, and actually it works. There's a lot of logic simplified, so it should be easier for me in the future to add things like we want a new data, not just image data. Maybe we want also audio data to be processed as a buffer out of the box. Right now, if you try to transfer audio data, I don't know what happens. Probably doesn't work from the worker. But also, we probably don't need all this stuff in general from a worker, and stuff that has to play and work on the main thread should be probably be on the main thread. And so my only question is, are we okay with dropping dependencies and do this step forward where we have fewer dependencies, faster code, and how do we test that these besides asking people, hey, please test this? Because I've done that on Discord. I've mentioned the current PyScript to test published on npm, and I had zero issues so far from anyone. If I don't know who tried, but I have zero issues myself, and so I'm confident that this is the time to change, drop Zabayon change that bit and try to see how it goes. I've published this as under my own namespace because that was easy. So right now this is published not as coincident but as web reflection coincident, which eventually, if we have a lot of people complaining that nothing works anymore, we can just in PolyScript or PyScript, we can just do this and import coincident instead and go back from where we were. But I think until we release with this latest version of coincident, we will never know if I've missed some edge case. But all the edge cases that were hitting back or backfiring before have been solved, and all the tests that I had have been tested, and everything is working just fine. And there's nobody should notice any behavior, except they should notice that our final bundle size is slightly smaller, and the execution of Pyodad from a worker should be slightly faster. If people can perceive that a lot, I don't know, but this is the best we can do, and I think we should offer the best we can do and close this chapter and move forward with everything else that we need to do with the project.
So, Andrea, what you're saying
Yeah.
is I've made the code smaller. There are less dependencies, and it's faster. I know our test suite, and our test suite runs with MicroPython and Pyodide in both the main thread and the worker. And you're saying that that's green. So in terms of the behavior that we test, both as unit tests and as integration tests, it works. You've asked for folks to try it out, and you've not heard anything. So I don't know about anybody else, but I don't want to say YOLO, but YOLO. I mean, let's just get it out there, and as far as we can tell, it's working as consistently as we can possibly measure PyScript to be, and somebody somewhere is going to do something stupid, like perhaps, I don't know, if only we knew somebody who was into audio processing and tried doing that on workers in PyScript.
Yeah, like I wanted to say that only during this talk, while Andrea was talking, I came back to his message asking for testing because I wanted to complain. Like, I don't even know how to install PyScript from npm. What is this message talking about? And only then I realized that the message is actually saying, hey, replace your links to core.js and core CSS with those links that just happen to be just some npm packages. So if nobody tested it, like maybe they also got scared off by mentions of npm like I was, because I don't want to touch npm. So like, kind of like
Fair point.
that's the thing. So like just some way for us to test like PyScript next, like that's awesome. Like if there is something that is actually waiting for us on npm, that's great. I am in fact like interested in just kind of being able to just build it myself and whatnot. I haven't done that yet, but now that I'm seeing T strings in Pyodide, like there must be Pyodide with 314, right? Because it wouldn't have T strings otherwise. So like I'm interested in that. Like even if it works well enough, like to just show the T strings to people during my tutorial, like at PyCon and whatnot. So I'm gonna be asking you some questions after the call, like just on Discord, like maybe tomorrow. Like Andrea, just so that I can actually build my own PyScript and just see between Python versions how all of those things work. Like the worker serialization, not everything was possible in the past. So now like that you're saying that not everything is going to be possible still, like that's fine. Like that's something that you can see the limitation and sort of accept it. But I remember like something in particular that like was like I think it is literally the audio data that you're getting, the frequency data like from web audio. You couldn't pass that to workers to do something.
You could,
like I see.
you could. It's just we don't have we never had the requirement, or nobody asked for it. So, but we know that image data, if you do have a requirement, just file an issue and say, hey, I want to use audio processing in the worker. It's just a matter
when I get to that,
yeah.
Okay.
I will let you know.
Right. Okay, I'm sorry for being teacherish, but I see Fabio has his hand up, and I know both of us have a meeting in about 5 minutes. So
6 minutes.
Fabio, go for it.
Yeah, I was going to both time check and say, I think this is a great idea, Lukasz. on maybe preparing a playground page or something like this with a few interesting examples and stuff that somehow we can show around during PyCon around T strings and all of that. So maybe let's follow up on that. I think it would be a nice opportunity.
I'm aware of the time, and I just want to say thank you, Andrea, for explaining those things about coincident and things. I think we should, given the lack of time, we should discuss further on Discord. Just for colleagues to know, I'm in London tomorrow because the senior leadership team is in London. So Anaconda's in the UK are there. So, but on Thursday, we should sort of maybe catch up and figure out what we're doing about our next release. One final thing that Lucas, you said, I want to be able to get PyScript next or something like that. Now, I know we've always had well, no, we don't anymore. We had PyScript latest, which always pointed you to the latest version of PyScript, which is not a good idea because you should pin your versions of a stable release. But if we had something like Debian SID, where you have to it's the latest build or it's the latest version of main or something like that.
Yeah, like a daily.
Is that useful?
Yes. It would be if it would literally be called unstable.
Yeah.
Then
Unstable.
it's very
Yeah.
explicit that people shouldn't be using it. But for us, when we're testing the next version, like that is gold because I don't have to build anything myself. I can just slap it on PyScript.com and see what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right? So that would be great.
Yeah. Okay, I'll put that in a to-do list. That's just a GitHub action away, as far as I can tell. So, okay, without further ado, because meetings and things like that. As always, always great to catch up like this, and I'll get this stuck on YouTube so folks at home can see it. I'm going to stop the recording now.